You guys can still hear me in the back?
Yeah.
Great. So, first of all, thank you, Nash, and to all the organizers of this pretty amazing event. It's really thrilling to see so many entrepreneurs, engineers, designers, same room, laptops out, working to build something that you're extremely passionate about. And, you know, I personally, I think a lot of the people at NewsCred feel right at home here at Startup Weekend, because we are just like you. We love what we do, and we love building things. So thank you so much for having me and all the NewsCred team here. So my job today is very simple. It's to convince you that whatever you're working on, or whatever you're dreaming about or building, you should think bigger. And I'm going to define what that means in a bit. That's my only job here today. Very, very simple. You need to think bigger. And before I start, I have a confession. And my confession is that I absolutely and completely love Bangladesh. I love my country. And the reason why I love my country is because I love our people. And the reason I love our people is because we are so talented. Over the last couple of years, I've met some of the most talented engineers in my life here. Some of the most talented designers in my life here. Most talented architects in my life here. And this talk is about taking that talent and channeling that talent to make a large impact in the world. Right? Because we have all this talent, but we need to put this talent into things that will change the world in a large scale if we want to put Bangladesh on the global map. And that's simply what this talk is about. So before we get started, just some definition here. I think most people here know what this means, but I think it's interesting just to kind of revise some of the Startup 101 things. So what is a startup? Technically, a startup is simply a company that's newly registered, a new venture. But really, when we talk about startup, what we are talking about is a company that is specifically designed and architected to grow. Okay? It's a company that is designed to produce disproportionate value. So you put in $1 to a startup, it outputs $10. And the output keeps on growing over time. But we are going to take this to another level because we want to think big. So what we want to build is not a startup. We want to build a scalable startup. So what is a scalable startup? A scalable startup is a company that's specifically designed and architected to grow exponentially. Right? It means the rate of growth over time accelerates. That's what a scalable startup is. And today at Startup Weekend, you have the choice. You have the choice to choose to build a normal company, a startup, or a scalable startup. So just a couple of examples to make this clear. So if you look at this diagram here, you have two lines. There's a dotted line and there's a dashed line. The dotted line is your kind of typical local restaurant type startup, right? You launch, you market, you advertise, you get people to come to your restaurant, and then you grow. But after a while, your restaurant can't serve more people, right? And so your rate of growth declines. And so you get this kind of dotted line type of curve that you see here. The other type of startup, which I like to call a zombie startup, is a startup that grows, but it grows in a linear fashion, right? So you are under the impression that you are growing, but what you're missing out on is the opportunity cost of building an exponentially growing startup. And this is the slide that I'm going to show you now. So on this slide, you can see two lines, one solid white line, one solid black line. These lines kind of look like hockey sticks, right? And when we talk about scalable startups, you normally see this trajectory. And there's specific conditions in your business idea and the market that you target which determine right now which type of startup you're building. And it's extremely important to get this right as early as possible. All right, so we want to build a scalable startup. So how do we do this? What are the steps that we can take to do this? I have two simple key ideas. Very simple, but hopefully they can guide you when you are thinking about your own ideas here at Startup Weekend. So the first key idea, you need to solve a big problem. The problem that your startup is trying to solve needs to be big. Okay? It's great if you're scratching your own itch and there's a problem that you're solving that you're having yourself, but it makes a world of difference if a lot of people are having that same problem. And to convince you of this, this is the argument that I always use, and to me, it doesn't even make sense. It rationally, for me, does not make sense to choose to build a normal company or a startup. Because regardless of if you're starting a local restaurant, or if you're starting the next Google, you're going to be working 12 hours a day anyway. When you start a startup, you will work 10, 12 hours a day. It doesn't matter if it's a restaurant around the corner that you're opening, or if you're starting the next Google. So it only makes sense from a return on investment on your time perspective to start a Google. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so what do I need this? Few examples. So at NewsCred, we think big because when we approach this industry, we said to ourselves, can we try to reimagine and reinvent the whole news industry, the whole content industry? Can we fundamentally change how that industry works? And that's a big idea. But that's the type of idea that you should aspire to have and pursue. So, for example, you should wake up one morning and say, email. Everybody here uses email. There are hundreds of millions, if not billions of people who use email. But why not reinvent email? Why not reinvent email? Why not invent a new communication protocol? Because this one is very old. Right? Let's think a little bigger. Search, web search. Everybody here and billions of people around the world use web search every day. Why don't you reinvent search? Why don't you create a new search engine? Right? If search was invented today, in the age of mobile phones and tablets, would it look like the way it looks today? Would it be a list of 10 links? Or would it be something different? Right? You have the opportunity now to tackle these large problems that hundreds of millions of people have every day. And it will require the same amount of effort from your part to build a Google and solve this problem versus solving a smaller problem. There's some people on this planet who even think bigger than that. So for example, my favorite entrepreneur right now is a person named Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is the CEO of SpaceX. They build rocket ships and spaceships. He's the CEO of Tesla. He's also the CEO of Solar City. And so he is trying to solve the most fundamental problem of all, which is the survival of the human race. And so his plan is to, by year 2025, create the first human colony to Mars. He's building the spaceships. He's creating a greenhouse that's going to create the atmosphere to house all these people. And if you think about the idea, how big it is, it's unbelievable. But this guy is no different from any one of you. He's just put in a lot more time, and he's thinking a lot bigger. Now my point is, you may not want to colonize Mars, but my point is that you should try to think beyond the status quo. You should try to see beyond the horizon, because you are starting from scratch now. So you can choose to solve a really, really big problem. Alright, so the second key idea is that this really goes hand in hand with Nash's talk. And Nash's talk is about markets. And this is the second key big idea. You want to target a really, really big market. The market size is probably everything. There's no way to build a scalable startup if you're targeting a very small market. If you ask the people in the room here, there'll be some people who are investors, and they'll tell you that a startup success is directly correlated with the quality of the team. That's what most investors will tell you. And then there's some engineers who will say, no, you know what, it's product. If you have an amazing, amazing product, then the probability of success is much, much higher. But people who build scalable startups, they know that what's really important is a big market size. And the reason this is important is because most of us, we build these products, and then after we start thinking about marketing, advertising, pricing, and we try to take that product and push it onto the market. But that doesn't work, because there needs to be demand. What you want is, you want as an entrepreneur to listen to the market. You don't want to fight the market. And when you listen to the market and understand the demand, then your market will pull your product from your startup. And that's the key. So, just some numbers here, and Nash threw out some numbers about Dhaka market size. So I think there are around 30 million users, internet users here. But if you look beyond Bangladesh, if you look beyond this horizon, then what you'll see is that in the world, there are 2.5 billion internet users today. And by 2017, there'll be 3.5 billion internet users. This is your addressable market. There's nothing here, no one here, or any technology barriers for you to launch a web app to this market. This is huge. And the more interesting thing is that in 2016, you'll have 1 billion connected mobile devices, iPads, tablets, smartphones in the whole world. And each one of these markets, each one of these app stores is an efficient global market. Right? This is an efficient global market. What does that mean? Well, it means that in the first time in the history of man, you can now spend 2-3 weeks building a piece of software and immediately, over one night, launch it to 1 billion people with credit cards connected. You can sit here and build a $1 billion company. So if you are only focusing on a small market in Bangladesh, you're doing yourself and your country a disfavor. Because we need you to build the next generation of large product companies, like India has done. We need large companies here with 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 employees who are innovating in the world, not only here. You need to think bigger. If you know how to code, how to design, how to launch, these efficient markets, they exist for you now. There's nothing in between you and this market. And it will take you equal amount of effort to do this versus doing the other thing, which is to launch small. And the key thing that I want to say is that there is absolutely no reason for you to take your talent and channel it to some type of market where you create less value, right? What you need to do is you need to look beyond what we see here around you. Look at the things that people are using, millions, billions of people, and try to reinvent them. Try to see which of these things are ripe for disruptive change. And then build a small team here, launch, and iterate. Does any of this make sense?
Yes.
Does it make sense? Yes. So what I want to know is that I know that the talent is here. We know that this global, efficient market is there. But what I want to know from every one of you is that, do you have the courage? Do you have the courage to think big and build something that will change the world? Yes?
Yes? Yes.
Since you're an entrepreneur, I can't hear you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so will you build the next Google here?
Yes.
Will you build the next Facebook here?
Yes.
Will you build the next Intel, the next Apple, the next all these large companies here so that we can give our children a Bangladesh that we're proud of? Right? We want to give them a Bangladesh that is bigger, that is better, with welfare, jobs, large companies, and contribute to the larger success of the world. And this is how we're going to do it, right? Right. All right, thank you very much.